Welcome to Dog Pound Radio. Today, I give you the prologue and chapter 1 of The Life of an Overthinker by Charles A. Banks. Today's broadcast is brought to you by Turn 2 Workshop. Join, follow Stan Schmidt at Turn 2 Workshop. It's on Facebook. Check it out. The Life of an Overthinker. True Stories of an Overthinker. Charles A. Banks. Death the Saga Publishing. Copyright 2021. Charles A. Banks. The Life of an Overthinker. About the author. Charles Banks was born in a small rural Iowa town in 1972. Charles owes everything to his great parents, Gerald and Sally Banks, and his in-laws, Mike and Sharon Shanahan. Charles Banks is the father of 3 wonderful children, Chelsea, Donald, Peyton, Katerina, and grandfather of Orion, Owen, and Ollie. Charles has been married for over 25 years to the love of his life, Stephanie Banks. Charles and Stephanie are both educators. Charles has been teaching for 20 plus years and has coached various sports. Prior to Charles's educational experience, he worked in the industrial sector as a manager. Charles graduated from Grayson University in 2004 with a BA in history and secondary education, and has graduated from Grand Canyon University with 2 master's degrees, one in secondary education and an MA in educational leadership, and a specialist degree in educational leadership from the same school. Charles is constantly searching for the truth. He was raised an Episcopalian and was later baptized in the Protestant faith. Charles believes in God and loves his country. Also by Charles A. Banks, Paranormal Experiences, Death the Final Frontier, 2014. Experiences from Beyond, Death the Final Frontier 2, 2015. Out of the Darkness and Into the Light, Death the Final Frontier 3, 2016. Around the Dinner Table, Religion and Politics, The Butthurt Saga, 2016. The Midwest Paranormal Road Trip, 2017. Death the Saga, 2018. Peering into the Void, 2019. The Shift of Consciousness, 2019. The Meaning of Truth, Born Again, 2019. The Midwest Paranormal Road Trip 2, 2019. The Mad Culture Present in Athletics, 2020. Hell Comes Home, 2020. The Life of an Overthinker, which you're listening to today on Dog Pound Radio. And The Dog Mentality, From Mediocrity to Becoming Elite. Prologue. Sad fact in today's age that most people only have assumptions on the outside shell and don't take time to get to know the inside of the soul. Assumptions and quick judgment often lead to distress and unrest in society as a whole. As an overthinker, it hits the soul a little harder overall. Questioning virtually every aspect in our lives, contemplating decisions, and never really understanding where we fit in the equation leads many of us to crisis levels of anxiety. As a person that has led lives within lives, I feel I can share my experience as an overthinker and how it shapes who I am and the mountains I must climb. It is my hope by sharing these experiences, I can help those out there that suffer from extreme anxiety due to overthinking. In today's day and age, we are quick to judgment and make our own assumptions. If only we could find a way to comfort our own thoughts, what a beautiful world we would live. Chapter 1. What is overthinking and where does it come from? I find the most troubling facet of overthinking is our innate ability to find trouble where it isn't, which leads us to make quick changes by our overwhelming pressure to utilize the fun factor within the fight or flight mentality. Is it because we care too much what other people think of us, or is it something else entirely? I do feel that we spend entirely too much time worrying about outside forces that shouldn't be a part of the thought process. Social media plays a significant part in this, but it isn't the only culprit, as throughout history, overthinkers have been part of our society, and good, bad, or indifferent have made an impact on all of us. There are 2 basic things that cause overthinking. They are stress and anxiety. When you dig deeper, you find the issues of one's self-esteem and self-doubt that percolate into the unconsciousness of the overthinker. The pandemic has increased overthinking to extraordinary measures due to social distancing, which has caused us all stress and anxiety. Whether the mainstream media or social media or other avenues of the pandemic has pushed anxiety to all new heights, and from an overthinker, the anxiety becomes only natural and leads us to fear in general. This fear can lead to mental health issues like depression or anxiety. Overthinking could be a symptom of these factors, which left in check could lead to more susceptibility of developing mental health problems. Now, I don't want you to assume that all overthinkers have a mental illness or that they are headed down a slippery slope. I want us to find a way to recognize when these feelings of anxiety could spiral out of control. Note, recognizing the issue is the first step in overcoming this type of thought process. The first step in overcoming this issue for me over the years was to write down what triggers the overthinking in general. This works much like a goal, setting and evaluating the goals to see what worked and what didn't work in the process. Thinking about all the things you could have done differently, second guessing every decision you make, and imagining the worst case scenarios in life can be exhausting, but overthinking is a hard habit to break. This is from Marin, 2020. Marin's article on overthinking really hits the nail on the head in regards to what overthinking is and how it can impact your life. Personally, as a coach, I often prepare worst case scenarios each week as I begin the daunting process of breaking down offensive and defensive schemes. Coaching has always been a vessel towards positivity in life. The ability to reach the heart and minds of student athletes and to create a positive culture are a staple as a head coach. I find when overthinking begins, so too does the anxiety. According to research, this could in fact lead to mental illness. I, however, see this differently, perhaps more along the lines of adrenaline and the excitement of competition. When the season ends, I do find myself going over and over in my mind what I could have personally done to win the games that were lost on the field of competition. The after the fact mentality also leads into my daily life, which in turn would be the unhealthy aspect of my overthinking as a human being. Recognizing this allows me to live a healthier life. I haven't always recognized this behavior in the past, especially when it came to family, friends, and work relationships. My mother, God rest her soul, always said, "Charlie, you are a people pleaser." She was right in many ways. However, I always strived to do the very best I could and to reach the highest degree of captivating my audience. I was a part of it. When I didn't get the response I was looking for, I would go into a deep sense of thought. My mind would race for hours, which in turn affected my sleep, eating, and personal habits. During these experiences in my life, the worst case scenario often appeared as a movie screen in my mind. The longer I thought about these scenarios in my mind, the less productive I became in the classroom, completing my chores at home or on the field of competition. Looking back at my past experiences with overthinking, the most important thing that strikes me as it can be tough to put to an end to it. If you do not recognize you are doing it, that's important. One has to understand before you can end the overthinking, you must first recognize that you are doing it in the first place. Imagine you are working on a resume and getting ready for a job interview. You are well dressed, you have all the requirements of the job at hand, but you didn't spend the time to prepare for answers that your interviewer used during the process. This has happened to all of us at one point or another in our life. In education, we use professional development as a means to better classroom and organization as a whole. As a teacher in the classroom, in order to teach and assess our students, we have to begin with the end in mind. When you have your purpose, you are on the right track towards greatness. As we continue on the subject of overthinking, we must first self-evaluate where we are headed, and what the end product is going to look like. So where does overcoming or overthinking come from? We understand that overthinking most likely comes from stress and anxiety. We also understand that overthinking starts from fear in relation to the creation of stress and anxiety. Overthinkers are highly aware of their own thoughts and actions and spend an exorbitant amount of time trying to understand the causes and meaning of their thoughts. In reality, in order to truly find out where overthinking comes from, we must look deep within ourselves and find out what fears we may have both consciously and subconsciously. Recognizing the causes will allow us to live a healthier life. Chapter 2. You have to find the cause in order to find peace. Personally, one has to reach deep within the soul to determine what is causing the anxiety that forces a person into inner turmoil. We have to find the cause in order to find peace. As painful as it may sound, to the overthinker must look into past trauma that may have caused such anxiety to take over their entire persona. By sharing my experiences, my hope is that everyone can overcome the issue of overthinking. Subcategory pain. The pain in his eyes were so intense as he looked shaken beyond his senses. The embarrassment was too much as he had left the library that afternoon. The pain in the gut was relentless with strikes of sadness and torment. The whole physical body was in absolute shock and dismay at what had taken place. Thoughts began rushing through the mind. I should just end it now. Or I would like to blow this guy up. Or I should just give up. These are some of what I experienced as a young teenager in the secondary school environment. I am now more thankful that I am able to live through such devastation and torment that I experienced as a kid. When you're young, you look at the world quite differently. The sky, clouds, trees, and other aspects on the horizon were so magnificent, written in the imagination of the child. It didn't matter what color the skin was, what socioeconomic status a family had, religious preferences, or what type of politics your parents and family practiced. You were merely a child looking at the world with absolute amazement and love. So often we become embattled in crisis or situations that cloud the mind. So many times we have experiences that shift us from one path to another. How we deal with those moments of the here and now are truly a staple of who we are, where we have come from, and who we are to become. Looking back, so many great memories in grammar school to high school. I seem to have closed off what negatives that I had experienced in life. As I see kids bullying other kids, I'm quick to confront such situations in a hurry. I would say without my personal experiences, I wouldn't understand the pain within the child's eyes when they are bullied. What starts out as simple fun to one turns into increased trauma for another. I know there will be many that say that this makes children tougher, so they are ready for what they're going to experience into adulthood. With that said, I say there are lessons that need to be learned, but no child or adult alike should have to face the ridicule of PTSD that bullying can give to the human soul. We're individuals, so why does society often try and label or mold you into what it wants out of the human being? What we need to understand is we were born into a world with love. We took our first breaths. We loved beyond comprehension, and we were magnificent human beings. We're all different, which I think is quite perfect. If you have experienced negatives in your life, you and only you can take yourself back to this great point of our lives. When we looked at the world through a child's eyes, the world around us was perfect. This is important. Take your life back. Why is it that so many people on the planet seem to be inclined to make fun of one another? When does harmless fun become harmful? These are a few questions to keep in mind when articulating a theory designed to understand bullying in principle. We also need to focus in on who we are. We are all different. Thus, we all need to interact in a way that brings peace to one's self and inner being. Bullying would be one aspect from my past that would be an indicator of where anxiety may be coming from. There are other experiences that would also be important to share. That is part 1, chapter 1 through chapter 2, The Life of an Overthinker. If you like this today, be sure to check out the address where you can get Life of an Overthinker today, which, by the way, helps fund Dog Pound Radio to bring you quality broadcasting. We're out.